Hey everybody, this is NFT Buyer 777. I am the co-founder of Meta Millions and I am back with another video. Today we're going to talk about conviction plays, and I have an interview with someone that I really respect in what he does buying and selling when it comes to long-term conviction plays. So I hope you enjoy it. I know I learned a lot. All right, everybody. So we are with Hamster.sol. And I'm really excited to talk to him. But before I give you too much information about who he is, Hamster, do you want to go ahead and give an intro of who you are and kind of how long you've been in the soul space?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Hamster.sol. I started Solana NFTs in October of 2021. So
Okay.
I started, I would say, not exactly at the start of the boom cycle, but somewhat maybe 2 or 3 months after the whole Sol space blew up.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, were you in any other NFTs beforehand, before Soul?
No, actually, I started with Solana NFTs. So I had no
Nice.
experience with NFTs whatsoever. Solana
Awesome.
was my introduction to NFTs.
Same. Yeah. I started like September 30th or something like that, buying and selling. I can't remember. It was like end of September, early October. So I started right with you. I mean, I was with in Solana, but really, I love how much research you do. You post a lot of really cool Twitter threads. I follow a lot of that stuff. But then also a lot of your information that you post in some of the DAO channels that I'm in with you. So where do you like more of like a conviction play that you hold really long term, like for a few weeks or a few months, or are you more of like a flipper? What do you like more?
Okay, so I'll tell you the theory of why I started out as a conviction buyer, or why I
Okay.
call myself a value investor. The
Okay.
reason why is because I started looking at Ethereum NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
And what I saw was that the people who are successful in Ethereum NFTs, they actually held a lot of their mints from mint all the way to, the period that covers today, the modern time, right?
Right.
And they were able to get multiple returns by not paper handing them. So
Right.
I didn't see a lot of flipping in Ethereum at that point in October last year. What I saw was people who held stuff like Bored Ape Yacht Club or CryptoPunks, or even the metaverses of that time. You have Decentraland, Sandbox. So they really held it from mint all the way to the moon, basically.
Right.
So my idea of entering Solana was to do the same, to find really
Mm-hmm.
good projects and hold them all the way to the moon, which I think that was why I entered portals.
Right.
Now, the problem with that kind of uh, investing thesis is that you're not doing anything. Like, you put your money, you park your money in these big projects and you just wait. But the problem is your money's just sitting, right? You're holding it for a very
Right.
long time. Yeah,
Right.
it's not working. So I decided to have a small part of my portfolio just for flipping, just so I have something to do every day. So
Right.
the idea is that I try to flip every day to get enough money for high conviction plays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And your most recent high conviction play was Honey, correct? That was
Yeah, honey.
a few weeks ago. How long ago was that? Just a couple days, right?
Yeah, just a couple of days ago.
And it's already like 5x from mint. It's what, 13 soul last time I checked, and it was like a 2 soul mint. So I mean, that's pretty good. I don't know why I didn't buy. Honestly, I do know why I didn't buy it. It's because it was a 10K project. It was a 2 soul mint. I hadn't done any research. But tell me about like what you did beforehand to know, hey, I'm going to go pretty heavy into Honey. So what did you do beforehand to really build up that conviction in that project?
Okay, so initially I only found out that Honey was doing an NFT project maybe, I would say, 3 days before the mint.
Okay.
And what really started me on the research journey was the fact that their name was very recognizable, right? I
It
already knew
is.
what Honey was because we already used them for other NFT projects. They
Yep.
already had staking going on. So just by that alone, the fact that they already have a product that other, projects use means a lot to me, because it harkens back to the day of when I started investing in Genesis Go, the reason why I invested in them heavily, well, not heavily, the reason why I invested in them in the first place, I didn't have a lot of Solana at that time. So I basically put everything I had at that time into Genesis Go. And the reason for that was because they already had a working product. People were already using them, developers were already using them. And I saw the same thing with Honey. People were already using Honey. They're
Yeah.
staking live, their system is live. So the next step was to kind of see where their market is going, or where they are heading. And that's where I did a deep dive into their Discord. And one important thing about research is it's not just you can do all the research you want on your end, but it helps a lot if you're able to communicate your ideas with other people, because
Right.
you have some people to bounce your ideas on, right? So I
Hmm.
started asking around in different channels I'm at, and I was able to talk to some Googles who had really strong conviction for Honey. And because of that, it made me, I really wanted to do a DeFi play, which means I want to spread my portfolio over different DeFi projects.
Right.
Those include GeoBots, DeFi Pirates from Chess Finance,
Hmm.
Dappies, and Lifinity, I believe, and Honey DeFi, of course. But the Boogles were telling me that they're going to go heavy on Honey. Even among all those projects, they choose to go heavy on Honey. That
Right.
gave me a lot of conviction to really research more and see what they're about. And they really hit all of the check marks that I was looking for. Fully doxed um, founders. I know a lot of people don't really believe in the power of doxing, but I think it still shows a strong commitment to your project if you're willing to be out there and be the spokesperson of your own project, right?
Yeah.
And
And
this
this is a fine line. I mean, so many people, I mean, I think that doxing is a big question mark for everybody. I mean, for me, I kind of understand both sides of the coin, and I don't personally have a strong conviction on either one. Do you feel like you have a strong conviction on doxing, not doxing, or is it just kind of like if someone doxes, you're like, oh, that's a nice ad or a nice value add, but it's not like a serious red flag or like a big green flag if a team does? Well, what are your thoughts on doxing?
I think personally it's a big green flag.
Okay,
There
for you,
people,
it's a big green flag.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The ones I've heard that are against or who find doxing not that eventful are usually people coming in from the developer side.
Hmm.
There's a lot of fear among developers when it comes to doxing, and I can understand completely why. But as an investor, we are coming from the point of view of investors,
Yeah.
and we are coming in as other investors are already affected by human psychology. It helps a lot to find a project that you can trust, and having a spokesperson for that project helps a lot. If you
Yeah.
look at all the successful crypto chains, the L1 chains, even some of the L2, a lot of their founders or dev teams are completely doxed. It's
Hmm.
only in NFTs where I see a lot of pushback against doxing. So I find that quite interesting, which is why
Yeah.
I give a lot of big cookie points to any project that is willing to dox themselves, because you can
Right.
do really dive in and do research on their background, right? That helps a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. You can really learn about what they've done, where they've been. And I think that there is, I mean, I understand that. So for me, before I started working for other projects, I was under the mindset of why would I ever buy a project that a whole team doesn't dox? I was big into doxing. And then I was talking to one project and they said, hey, we can't fully dox. We have one team member that can fully dox, but the other two people they were in Europe. And they said, our company, if we get found out that we're doing anything else, like any side job, it's in our contract that we actually lose our job. So there is definitely some of that now that I'm talking more to project owners, that there is some hesitation if they're trying to start up this business full time um, uh, while also doing NFTs. and their full-time job. So I can kind of understand that. But yes, for me, I do feel reassured when I see a team that completely comes out and says, hey, blah, blah, blah. But then I do understand the other side as well. But so you said you've pretty much been a conviction buyer from the beginning, and you've mentioned Genesis Go, you've mentioned Honey, a few others, DeFi Pirates. What do you feel like is one of your favorite projects that you have currently, or maybe you've already sold because you wanted to capture some of that profit? What's your favorite project you've been in?
That's a good question. I would say my favorite project would be Portals.
Okay.
It's because it was really my first success on the research heavy, thing that I do. It
Okay.
was a high conviction play for me because early on, not a lot of people believed in portals.
Mm-hmm.
I remember during the midday, there weren't a lot of people going for it. I was asking around in some of the different groups I'm in, and some of them were saying, why would we mint portals? It's just a cash grab. It's just a Unity asset flip. But
Right.
what
Yeah.
really convinced me was the dedication of the team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the start, portals actually they weren't doxed. And there's a thing that I would like to introduce. It's a concept called doxing by proxy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like they're publicly doxed, but there's trust because someone out there knows their identity, right? So with
Mm.
portals, they started out in the Solana hackathon competition. So to join that hackathon, you must dox to the Solana team or to whoever the judges are, right?
Right.
So while I don't know who they are personally, I do know that they are doxed by proxy by a different organization. So I know that they wouldn't rug. So that helped a lot in my conviction going for portals. And it also helped that I was very early in the Discord. So I was able to talk to the dev team. I was able to test their product. It was funny during that time because a lot of projects didn't have anything. All they had was a PFP. And here on the other hand, you have this big project trying out a completely 3D world. They have walking characters, they have models and everything, and they're putting so much work into it, and nobody wanted to buy the product. And it just baffled me why other people would throw so much money on a PFP project, but not even try on portals.
Right. Something that I think is, I guess, either interesting or something to note is that I think that a lot of projects don't put enough value on marketing. And I know that I say marketing and everybody's like, oh, like that's a keyword. Like everybody's like, oh, do marketing, do marketing, do marketing. When the floor price is dumping, everybody's like, you're not doing enough marketing. Enough people don't understand that they don't really know what they're asking for when they say, hey, do more marketing. But projects, like what a project owner needs to realize is if you're really heavy on the development side, so let's take portals, they were doing a lot. Marketing is just communicating this type of work to everybody else, to the people outside, and showing them, hey, we're always active. It's great if you're a development team and you're building and you're continually building, but portals, I think, did a good job of communicating this to their people, and so that may not have been one of the main factors that attracted you because you are really research heavy, but it also, their continual posts on Twitter, their continual connecting with other people in spaces or AMAs, them doing that early on, it built a network. So a lot of people kind of have heard, oh, portals before they even blew up. And so that type of work should also be done, even if if your team of developers and you're building these great projects, you still need to spend a lot of money and time and dedication either on marketing, having a marketer, or somebody that is doing that. Because like you said, you saw, hey, they're doing a lot of stuff, and why are people not wanting to buy it and only buy a profile picture? So I think a big part of that is just marketing initially. If you have a good idea and you guys actually have a team that are building, So that's my opinion. What do you feel like about marketing? Like when you see a team that's active and they are posting and they're continually in spaces, what do you feel like when you see some team marketing? Is that good for you, or do you say, okay, that's fine, but you need to do a lot more in the back end? What's your initial response on the marketing side of things?
That's a good question. Marketing, let's take the example of portals, for example. I think a lot
Hmm.
of their marketing or a lot of the initiative came from Chris, which is their community manager.
Right.
And he wasn't originally part of the team. I think he was hired later on, but he was such a powerful force, in bringing the ideas of the developers to the community.
Hmm.
And by far, I would say Chris is probably the top community manager of any Discord I've been in. He's just that good. Now
Yeah.
he's always active. Any question is always answered. And what I really like about him, he keeps a level head. He doesn't insult people. He doesn't,
Yes.
yeah, he doesn't do any of those like nasty call outs or anything like that. Just his professionalism is very high. And
Yes.
that kind of integrity can really help project a project across a wide medium like Twitter. You can really see it from the way they post updates, the way they do their blogs or their dev posts or their announcements. You can see the professionalism all throughout.
Hmm.
And you're right that a lot of projects do need marketing, like especially projects that have very big or very ambitious roadmaps.
Yes.
So I would say one of those projects would be something like Kitten Coop. So Kitten Coop is a derugged project of Cool Kitten Solana. It's done by a group headed by Misty Bio and some of the Yume Lab people. I think they really lack marketing in a sense that they have a really good idea. They have a really good project, but they lack the projection for a lot of these the normal people like you and me to see what they're doing, right? And if
Right.
you look at their collection, it's very cheap right now. It's maybe 1 to 1.5 sol. The supply is only 2,000. So it has a high chance of mooning if they could market it correctly, right? And it's not a
Hmm.
project, that's going to suddenly rug. They're not trying to do staking just for the point of earning Ponzi coins, right? They're in it for long.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, yeah, who would ever rug and then rug again at Senshi Samurai?
Yeah, yeah. So that does happen.
That's so funny. It's only happened once ever, and that was crazy.
Well,
So
we'll see. I think
yeah,
a lot of people are looking at Balloonsville now because it was, derugged recently. So
yeah,
that
yeah,
would be
and
an
and it's
interesting.
supported by someone on the Magic Eden team, though, right? Someone like from the Magic Eden team actually moved over to the derugged Balloonsville and has been taking that over. Is that correct?
I think those are the rumors because
Okay.
the Balloonsville rug actually, gave a lot of negative press to Magic Eden.
Yeah, it
And
did.
Magic Eden is, they're trying to position themselves as the number one marketplace in Solana. And you
Hmm.
know that OpenSea is coming, so they better, they have to improve a lot to protect their
Yes.
position. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the
So
biggest things that I've heard frustrations from people in a lot of the discords that I'm in and a lot of the discords that you and I share is they get frustrated at Magic Eden's speed. So there's a difference between Solana being slow and then Magic Eden not loading and then all of these other sites like my transactions Solana is fine. So they're making a lot of money and a lot of people are frustrated that, hey, you're not reinvesting this into increasing your bandwidth, increasing the capabilities that you have. That's something that I think is frustrating, but I don't know enough about the infrastructure that they have, the infrastructure that they're planning on building. So I definitely think that is a friction point that they need to get solved before OpenSea, or they're going to get slammed, I would say. But really interesting. Well, Hamster, I really appreciate some of just a lot of the information you covered. Well, before you go though, what are you looking at? Do you have a project that you're doing research on now that you're excited about, or that is piquing your interest?
I would say chill chat.
Chill
So chill
chat.
chat is
Okay.
definitely piquing my interest because it is backed by big brain VC. So you
Hmm.
know that he did his research on that, and
Yeah.
the supply is quite limited. So there's only 1,500 of the origin, which is the very first release of their NFTs, right?
Right.
1,500, and all of them are one-ones. So I
Hmm.
think that they might go on a portals like run. They'll be
Okay.
competing against Solana for the top like 2D based browser metaverse. So
Right.
it's them versus Solana right now, but I think they have a good shot of making it. Yeah,
Right.
that's what I'm looking at right now, and I'm waiting for a really good entry because I want to go in big. And a
Right.
lot of
Yeah.
people, yeah, a lot of people are that I know have bought up some chill chats at around 20, around that
Okay.
range. So I'm
Okay.
looking to go in. Yeah, that's something
Yeah.
I'm definitely interested in because their launch
Interesting.
is around a month from now. They're going to launch.
Okay. Well, awesome. Well, Hamster, I really appreciate you hopping on. Thanks for the information, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thanks for joining, guys.